We've heard tales of witches through spooky stories told around campfires or read them in books like Macbeth. And while many believe that witchcraft is make-believe, others insist it's a real and dangerous force. From the Salem witch trials to the recent Netflix series about the alleged covens operating within elite U.S. society, tales of witchcraft have always captured our imagination. However, not all accounts are fiction. Some are based on real events which so terrified people they still send chills down our spines today. Here are 5 terrifying witch legends that entire civilizations feared. 5. The Witch of Endor. In modern times, when we think of witches, most imagine a woman brewing potions in a cauldron while cackling maniacally. It's thanks to famous stories like Hansel and Gretel. But this wasn't the image of the first witches. In fact, the ancient Israelites believed their country was under attack by practitioners of an entirely different kind of magic. This isn't hard to see why. When God instructed King Saul to kill all the sons of Anakim, he refused. He worried about what people might say since the Anakim were important members of society. As punishment, God took away his kingdom and gave it to David. But Saul didn't take this lying down. Seeking a way to get his power back, he turned to the Witch of Endor. According to the Bible, she used necromancy to raise the spirit of Samuel, the prophet who anointed him king. Horrified at what he saw, Saul fell to the ground in terror and collapsed after hearing the prophecy that he would die in battle. The next day, Saul and his sons died valiantly fighting the Philistines, exactly as Samuel predicted. To this day, the story of the Witch of Endor remains a chilling reminder of the lengths people will go to for power and the dangers of tampering with the unknown. Number 4. The Bell Witch. The United States has its fair share of famous ghost stories, from the apparition of Lady in Black, who haunts the halls of the Eastern State Penitentiary, to the ghosts of Alcatraz. However, one of the most well-known and terrifying hauntings comes from a small town in Tennessee. During the early 1800s, the Bell family began experiencing strange phenomena in their home, including shaking beds, sudden cold spots, and whispers in the night. But soon, things escalated. A disembodied voice started speaking to them, insulting them, and even moving objects around the house. It was also able to interact with other people, manipulating them into acting unnatural. At first, they believed they were going crazy, until they learned that a former slave who had cursed the family before her death may have been haunting them. John Bell, the head of the family, kept a journal detailing these events, and even wrote a letter to President Andrew Jackson seeking help in banishing the spirit. Although the ghost never physically hurt anyone, it caused enough distress to drive a wedge between family members and cause John Bell's health to deteriorate. Did he die of fright? Who was behind the Bell Witch haunting and why? These questions remain unanswered to this day. 3. Baba Yaga. When you picture a scary witch, there's a good chance you're imagining someone similar to Baba Yaga, an ugly old woman stirring her cauldron, except instead of a broom, she travels by flying mortar and pestle. She originates from Slavic folklore, where she's known as a supreme sorceress dwelling in a faraway land deep within the woods. Most stories describe her living in a hut that rests on chicken legs and is surrounded by a fence made from human skulls. She's usually depicted as a terrifying figure with long, tangled hair and disheveled robes. What's more, she's said to have superhuman strength, capable of devouring travelers whole and turning their bones into dust. But she's not always evil. Occasionally, Baba Yaga shows kindness and compassion too, helping those who prove themselves worthy of her trust. One example is Vasilisa the Beautiful, a young girl who sought her aid in completing seemingly impossible tasks. Baba Yaga gave her magical assistance, helping her on her journey towards self-discovery and ultimately passing down valuable lessons about life. So what is Baba Yaga's true nature? Is she a malevolent spirit that preys on unsuspecting wanderers, or a force for good who tests mortals to see if they're worthy? Unfortunately, her ambiguous character leaves this up to your interpretation. Number 2. La Voisin. Catherine Monvoisin, better known as La Voisin, was a French noblewoman infamous for her involvement in a vast criminal conspiracy during the late 17th century. Her story started innocently enough, running a salon frequented by prominent figures from various walks of life. But as time went on, she started using her influence for nefarious purposes, engaging in black magic and even murder. La Voisin attracted followers from the lower classes, promising them fame and fortune if they helped her carry out her schemes. One of her most heinous acts was poisoning hundreds of children with a substance she claimed would transform them into animals. While the motive behind this horrific deed remains unclear, it likely stemmed from La Voisin's growing obsession with dark magic. Soon, however, the authorities caught up to her and uncovered a plot far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. La Voisin was accused of using voodoo dolls representing high-ranking members of society, cursing them with misfortune, illness, and even death. Despite overwhelming evidence against her, she managed to avoid punishment, allegedly bribing officials to look the other way. After facing exile, she returned to France years later, where she lived out the rest of her days without consequence. The mystery surrounding her crimes continues to captivate historians and theorists alike. What really happened during those fateful years? And how did she manage to escape justice for so long? Number 1. The Pendle Witches. One event sent shockwaves throughout England, leaving an indelible mark on history. In 1612, 10 individuals from Pendle, a small village in Lancashire, were accused of practicing witchcraft and conspiring against the lives of several townspeople. Tensions had been building for some time as the community faced economic hardship and social unrest. Accusations of witchcraft emerged, casting suspicion on those already marginalized by society. Among them were 2 sisters, Anne Whittle and Elizabeth Device, who became central figures in the unfolding drama. The charges against them were grave, alleging that they had bewitched several townspeople, causing them harm and even death. What followed was a series of trials that would become infamous for their handling of evidence and questionable practices. Witnesses came forward with tales of supernatural occurrences, linking the accused to the afflictions of their fellow villagers. But the validity of these claims remains a subject of debate to this day. Despite a lack of concrete proof, the court proceedings moved forward, culminating in the conviction of all 10 Pendle witches. They were sentenced to death, and soon afterward, they met their demise at the hands of an executioner. Their deaths sent shockwaves throughout England, prompting widespread discussion about the nature of witchcraft and the use of spectral evidence in court proceedings. The Pendle witch trials continue to be a source of fascination and controversy, raising questions about the power of belief and the dangers of mass hysteria. Thanks for watching. Which of these witch legends was the most terrifying to you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. See you next time. Bye.